Hey everyone, welcome to Product Momentum. I'm Sean Murray, Director of Product Management here at ITX.
And I'm Dan Sharp, a Product Manager at ITX. It's our privilege to continue the Product Momentum journey, a platform that celebrates the thinkers and doers who are shaping the future of software development.
That's right, Dan. Our goal is to introduce you to industry leaders, innovators, and practitioners, and bring you their insights, advice, and innovations. We talk with experts from product strategy, UX research and design, security, engineering, leadership, and more. We'll discuss how their approaches to problems help empower teams and build trust. And we'll explore trends, tools, and techniques that your team can use to deliver the software solutions your users need today. So tune in, stay curious, and join the conversation.
You can catch us on your favorite listening platform, or if you prefer the video experience, you can find all our latest episodes on the Product Momentum YouTube channel.
And if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. That way, we can be sure to provide you with the best podcast experience.
Christina, we just had an awesome conversation here at the Product and Design Conference with Ioana Teleanu.
We did.
I would love to hear what your takeaways were.
Awesome. Yeah, Ioana has an awesome perspective. I think she's seen a lot in a lot of different capacities, and so she brings a really level-headed approach to things in a time when there's so much uncertainty and anxiety, and she has a lot to share around that.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that she was bringing just how AI is going to be a benefit to humanity.
Mm-hmm. Design is not dead.
It's not dead. Super awesome conversation. Let's get to it.
Awesome.
So, joining me today, my special co-host, Christina Halliday. Christina is a lover of all things design, got her start as an interaction designer, and now here we are about 10 years later. She is a delivery director at ITX and crushing it, running some product-led, design-led teams here. And here we are, live at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Just came off of an awesome keynote. We have our special guest, Ioana Teleanu. Super happy to be here. So we heard about it in the opening, but Ioana, you are a product lead for Miro, application that I have come to know and love, working in AI there. You specialize in AI design, AI products. Before that, you were at UiPath, received the Time Magazine Best Invention of 2023 award, which is pretty awesome. You're also an instructor. So we are super excited to have you here talking with us about design and AI. So we're going to jump right into it. I was on LinkedIn, and it seems like product managers and designers, our jobs are gone. AI is going to take them. Really curious to hear what your thoughts are there.
Yeah. Hi. First of all, hi. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be in Rochester. I've had a very nice experience of the city so far. I think it's fascinating, and it's just full of strong narratives about the world. And I'm really, really grateful to experience all of this. And just want to make a quick amendment to what you said. I'm not with Miro anymore. I was there as the first AI product designer for 1 year and something. And then I decided that I want to expand my problem space, diversify the problem spaces I work in. And I opened my consultancy studio, which, yes, it exposes me to a lot of new types of problems that companies have. But I'm learning that many times it comes down to the same couple of patterns or just common, I wouldn't say mistakes, but maybe pitfalls that you see when you try to approach AI. Now, getting back to your question, I didn't forget what you asked me. No, I don't think the design role is dead by any means. I see those sensationalist headlines and very controversial takes, and I'm also a content creator since 2018. I have many followers. And I've learned by being in the space that a lot of people just optimize for virality, they optimize for controversy, they just write these headlines for engagement and to kind of tap into that emotional anxiety, and that makes you read through or react or ask questions or just, engage in a way with their posts. So that's a lot of clickbait. But what's true is that our roles are indeed transforming. Even though I spend a lot of time immersed in the space, I can't say where we will end up. Nobody can know essentially what is the, I mean, we see some parts of it. I understand the nature of how some parts of our roles will change, but I can't tell you this is what we'll be doing in 5 years from now, because technology is still surprising in a way, right? So it's a process of figuring out how to disambiguate all of this. But our roles are transforming. They're not going away. There's even study by World Economic Forum that I read recently where they talk about the future of jobs. Is their annual report or something, and their thesis based on all the research that they did is that AI will end up creating more jobs than replacing. So it's like, I don't know, 170 million created and 100 something displaced, whatever, but there's going to be more jobs thanks to AI. If we look back at industrial revolutions, that might be the case. So history kind of confirms that we just transform or we invent, create new jobs, new things to work on. But so AI might create more jobs. And one of the professions that was marked as growing is UX design. And that was really interesting because it got me thinking, like, really, why? Because if the problem spaces are contracting, how can it be a higher need for design? And my assumption answering this is that we're creating a lot of design debt as we're moving through this technological revolution. We're making decisions mostly through engineering, just deploying things and experimenting, or leadership that's rushing to not miss out on the AI race. And so there's a lot of decision making that's chaotic. And I think it's the nature of this moment in history. And that's okay, maybe. But it also will create a lot of poorly usability uh, experiences. And so designers will, and also engineers will have to fix the code that AI is producing. But designers will have to fix the design mess that these systems will probably put out there in the world. And so, yeah, I'm not really worried.
We've been here before. It sounds
Exactly.
familiar.
Exactly.
It's like a lot's changed, but a lot remains the same. And
Yeah.
I love your very down to earth perspective on it. I think I don't know about all of you, but I am in need of some reality, I think, with all the anxiety and the hype. So it's great to hear that. And you're uniquely positioned because between your consulting and your instruction, and your past experience, you've seen quite a bit, on the ground. Where we talked a little bit about, where things might go in the future, but like today, where are we today? What are you seeing today? Like what's table stakes for AI literacy and adoption in teams today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm happy you framed it like that because it helps me frame my answer very clearly. So part of my work as a consultant now is to come in and design teams and kind of create structures, frameworks, and platform for them to experiment with technologies, or at least give their like designers and their team leaders or head of design, give them permission to like just play around with these tools, because
Right.
there's a lot of just reluctance or this feeling of stuck, like I
Mhm.
want to AI, but how do I AI, where I start? Like if it's not facilitated by my company, do I just like I was saying in my keynote, we don't wake up one day and in the morning and say, what do I do with AI today?
Yeah.
Like nobody starts out like that. So it needs to be facilitated, or again, as I was mentioning in my keynote, to an extreme, the intercom example of just forcing designers to vibe code. And so again, forcing, just putting them in a room with like clearing up their calendars, which is also an important part of enabling teams to improve their AI literacy, is to clean up their calendar. Like one of the things, this is another layer of things we're expected to do, like adjust, experiment, learn, find time to try out Lovable, find time to try out Figma Make or whatever. But when? Because we also have the same level of pressure, even higher. The pressure is higher than ever because a lot of designers have been laid off.
Yeah.
The teams are contracting currently. There's also the pace of building and launching features that's changing. It's worse than ever. Like we really need to move fast. So there's pressure from all sides. And then you also have to keep up to date with those technologies. And this is, I feel, a leadership fallacy, a problem of leadership failing. There was a study published by the Designer Fund, and they surfaced the fact that 7% of companies have budgets to train their design teams in AI. So nobody's prioritizing it, but it's expected. So it's really strange. It's a strange time. And I think that we should come together as an industry and just say, look, we need you to support us. We need budgets for it. I need the annual training budget to be used on, I don't know what, prototyping workshop or whatever. So that's really important, because otherwise you're just going to have these sparse all over the place efforts, very individual, that don't amount into something that really infuses, pushes the entire team forward. You have to create frameworks for exchanging all these insights between the teams. So I think teams are in a very odd place right now, where there's a lot of expectation from them, but not a lot of support. However, by working, and I'm working with teams a lot on that, like from Atlassian to the government of UK to yeah. So I'm looking. I was just talking. I've launched a series on my podcast, which is exactly about that, how to AI. And I'm inviting leaders from different big tech names, but also I will invite smaller companies, because I think they also deserve a voice, and we need to learn what smaller companies, like, why do we only talk about Apple? And so I will have the different type of leadership joining to talk about their efforts around AI. And in the second episode was with Henry, the VP of design at Perplexity, which is also the founding designer at Perplexity. And he had a very different story about using AI than the first guest, which was a leader of design at Intercom, that was supporting this kind of creating the cursor environment and then experimenting with it. And so, but there were different worlds in a way about, like, one company was AI first, like Perplexity is an AI product. It lives thanks to AI. Intercom, they're doing the, I don't know, Finn, their agent, powered by AI and whatnot, but it's not the AI first company. So the ways in which they were infusing AI in their teams were vastly different. So, and with Perplexity, like, that's what you do. You AI. You have to use it. You have to get it. You have that. So it's implicit. In other teams, you have to create these structures in place. And Intercom is also a very good example. Most companies I talk to, they're in that level of paralysis. Like, we want to do something, but we don't know what to do, and we don't know where to start, and we don't have the time. And there's a mandate that we do AI, but I have to deliver, I don't know what feature by next week, right? So it's a weird place, and you have a gradient of, let's say, stages or situations that these companies are in.
Right.
Few are really strongly experimenting and creating the platforms for it. But we'll see. Yeah, I think the market will catch up eventually.
Yeah, that's the hope. I think I'm definitely sensing that. I've had a lot of conversations the last couple days with people, and of course I'm asking, well, how are you using AI? And there is a lot of that pressure where it's, I feel behind. Or, we were in a workshop yesterday playing around with Lovable and other tools like that, and like half the room didn't have access because, they couldn't access the tool. And it's like, on one hand, it's use the tools, be more efficient, work faster, innovate, be relevant. And then it's like, oh, but you can't.
I know. I see
It's a
the
tough
same.
balance.
I see the same things in the wild. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to individual contributors, or maybe even leaders of a team, that want to advocate for themselves to have more access to training, to tools, whatever it might be, because they see where things are going, they're hearing the demand, and they want to do something about it?
Yeah. I think it's, I can't think of a unique thing that works, because it's very dependent on the type of company and, like, the type of fear that they're running on. So many companies are in this very competitive mindset and that they just want to have AI because their investors demand it or whatnot. Other companies are just like, man, we're doing great without AI. We don't need it. But you still like the angle of argumentation should be adapted to what the leadership values or is afraid of. As a general rule, I feel that the cost of breaking things by experimenting is lower than the cost of not experimenting. So
Yeah.
many of them are reluctant because they don't want to, just waste resources with like investments in AI and in training and in setting up the systems, and then it amounts to nothing. But I think they have to own the fact that it might amount to nothing, but it never does because there's the learning aspect to it, which
Right.
is valuable, whatever happens to that project. So in a way, not trying, not spending money on it is not saving money. Doesn't mean you're saving money. You're losing more money. And yeah, I think also sometimes the leadership is just very stressed out as well.
Yeah.
They have pressure from all sides and they just need someone to tell them, hey, we have to do something that it's not what keeps you up at night, but it's important. And many of them, I think, should be supportive of it. And then I think most companies, especially larger companies, but I think all sizes, have learning budgets. If you just have to move that, like reroute those budgets to AI stuff or other budgets, like just move around money in this new bucket of experimentation and learning and
Yeah.
make it like, I don't know, it's not that hard to create safe environments to use GPT in your company. And I also gave a workshop in Berlin with a bunch of designers from all sorts of companies and sizes and seniority and everything. And they had the same problem. They couldn't access GPT. And
Yeah.
sometimes they were coming up to me during the workshop, can you put in this prompt in your computer? And I'm like, sure, I can do that. But do you have no interface that you can prompt? Like, that's the most, right? Do it on your phone. I don't know. But it's like, I understand the concern. And even when I was working at Miro, we had fears from our biggest clients that the data that they put in Miro about their products, their vision, their strategy is going to inform those systems. And then everybody can ask GPT, hey, what is Apple working on? That's right. But there are ways. Like, I'm not a technical risk person, but I know working with these people that you can put guardrails and safety measures and create an environment that's closed and the data is protected. And I think there's an opt-out of training on your data that's like even embedded in um, using their API. So yeah, I don't know. I think there are ways. You just have to, where there's a will, there's a way. So they just have to want. And sometimes I think they want, but they don't think about it.
Yeah.
To have a great follow-up question out of the audience, right? In your keynote, you're a big proponent of ethical AI, making sure that what we're doing is benefiting humanity. So a question, right? A huge challenge for AI users is erosion of privacy. A, how do you feel about this? But also, right, what can designers, users, also product managers, right, do to make sure that we're maintaining privacy boundaries?
That's a big one.
You can go for another hour. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a very good question. It's very philosophical as well. It's also very practical, but very philosophical.
This is the after lunch session, so it's philosophy time.
Yeah, I'm happy. I love the question. So I don't even know where to start on it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and yeah. So the thing with privacy is that we have increasingly lowered our protection mechanism. Like, we are so accustomed to location services, tracking everywhere we are, iPhone knowing everything. We're taking photos of everything. We have flexible we've made flexible these boundaries of privacy, and we take this reality for granted. So the way we interact with AI systems is just pushing those boundaries a little bit further, right? So now we're asking very private questions, maybe very private health questions, maybe problems from our relationships. I saw a recent study of how people use AI systems. And in 2025, the highest use case is therapy and companionship. Like people really have very intimate conversations about their emotional problems with these systems. So we don't feel worried. We're not thinking about that so much, right? So, and that's really weird in a way, because at some point we were very it was a big conversation, like how do we protect privacy, the cookies on the internet, we decline them, I don't want you to know that I was here on this website. But now we tell GPT, look, I had a fight with my partner this morning and he told me this. Am I right, or is he right, or who's right? And of course GPT will always tell you you are right, but but like with a reflective angle, like his point of view is not completely wrong, but you're right. So, and that's also a problem, right? Is it making us more and more narcissistic? Like if we have this pocket companion that's approving of everything we say and think and do, like it's not as obvious as it used to be. It used to be even more of a cheerleader to whatever we gave it. Now I think they're working on making it more nuanced. I think they pulled back a model update that made it very polite, and so they're really interested in finding that sweet spot between being accepting of whatever you tell it, but also kind of not encourage murder or anything, right? Because it doesn't understand consequences. It doesn't have a moral compass, right? We teach it, but it could, like, if it doesn't get the risk of whatever. And I know there was recently a case where the police arrested a guy that was talking about his intentions with GPT.
Wow.
And so the system marked that as, look, this sounds really, really sketchy. And the team alerted the police and they arrested him. And yeah, so I'm very far away from what you ask me about privacy, but my point is that some people tell their murder intentions to GPT. So their most dark, hidden secret, it's out there and they don't mind. And so what does it mean? It means that the responsibility is even higher on our side to protect them, to keep that data safe, to even maybe, I don't know, you don't want to judge when someone, like as an entity, and now I'm an AI system and someone tells me something and I don't want to tell them that's inappropriate, or right? You don't want value judgments, but maybe those systems should reinforce some sort of, right? Like maybe that's not a topic. Maybe discuss it with your therapist, or right? So maybe these systems can have a moral compass, like the moral ethical structure in place to stop us when we're right, because stories of people falling in love with GPT, or like it's just the beginning. Like we've all seen Her, the movie. Yep, we're gonna have that because they're so nice to us. It's hard not to like them, right? Sometimes GPT makes me smile. Like it cracks a joke, or it has like and this is just the beginning. It's infant technology. It's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get to know us more. And so, where is this all heading? Exactly.
That was perfect. And the cops are on the way.
Is this safe? Are we safe?
It just stopped, so I think we're okay. So
Wow, this was like cinema right here.
yeah, really put a dramatic
It's like,
period on.
where is this all going?
Well, to bring it back, I mean, here's my attempt to get us back on track. You mentioned in your keynote these guiding principles, right? And you've kind of put these together. And I loved what you said too, when you kind of framed these up. You were like, listen, this is from my experience. I'm probably missing something. I don't know. And I think that's kind of the vibe. We're all figuring it out.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of principles. And that's something that as designers, we're familiar with. That's a concept that we put in place, right? And so I love that even with all this uncertainty, you are pulling on things that we can rely on, that we know, that we can look to kind of guide us through this, because there is no answer.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what other frameworks are going to emerge too. Like when you were talking about principles, I immediately was like, oh my God, do we start accounting for this in like design systems and guides and things like that? And I just had like kind of this train of thinking, and there's going to be so much of that that we're going to start to see, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a question. I read it as a question. I turned it into my own question. I remember when I was working at Miro, I had, I think I shared a post about a design decision or a new feature we launched, which was some sort of way in which you could jump from one workflow stage to the next. Like you did your resource synthesis and now you have to share it out with your leadership or team. And so with one click, you would go to the next stage. And I was talking to Jacob Nielsen. I talked to Jacob Nielsen sometimes.
Wow.
And he told me, you have to make this public. You have to make all the design process behind it. You have to document it in public. And, like, it felt like he was scolding me because I'm like keeping these kind of new problems we have to myself. And I was like, is this really worth writing about? Yeah, I think it's a new interaction. It's called accelerators. And he found a name for it. And I was like, whoa, I designed something that's like
interesting.
Yeah. And so the point I'm trying to make with that is that we should all contribute to this public disambiguity. If you do something interesting, even if it doesn't feel to you like you did something, talk about it. And then collectively, we document and gather these decisions, the rationale behind them, the patterns, the interaction models, and so on. So,
Yeah.
Got another one from the audience here. So kind of bringing it back to the day-to-day practical advice. What can you give to the designers out there, right, using AI tools? We saw yesterday in a workshop, 6 tables, put in the same prompt, got 6 different UI outputs.
yeah.
How do we kind of deal with that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a problem of context, but like a specific problem of context. So, um, I think we were talking earlier about how prompting, or I was talking with Luke Stiles, prompting is a small part of it. Context is the bigger problem when you're working with AI systems. So you have to prompt it well, but if the context is not good, whatever they do, it's not gonna be. It's like there's a saying that we keep using: garbage in, garbage out. So you really have to give it proper context. So what that means for UI is, in a way, teach it on your product, on your design system. And I know that many years ago, like when I started giving talks about AI in 2022, I think, at Figma, at Config in San Francisco, Uber had a keynote and they showed that they're working on an internal tool that would let designers text prompt by texting their design system and then create designs in the language of their design system. So everybody could kind of come in and say, add me a button, do whatever, because it was educated on their design system. And at that moment, it felt like, whoa, that's so like these Uber guys. They're so, they're in the future, man. And now it's like, this is becoming a reality. Like for large design teams and with complex languages, we're probably, I think now we have to train these internal tools on the design system, but in the future, it can just learn from your product. It can be the design system. It can keep the product in check. Like this AI agent, the design system agent, can go on your website and say there are some discrepancies between the roundedness of your buttons, and you should fix this, this, and that. And so they're gonna be the gatekeepers of consistency and the design system. So this is why the UI varies, because it doesn't know how to look like. I mean, it knows what to represent, but it doesn't know how to represent it. So if you give it the how, and sometimes I think they're smart enough that if you give them a screenshot from your product that has more elements in, like, not an empty page, like a 404 or whatever, give them a screenshot from your main page, dashboard, whatever, then it can kind of figure out, okay, so this is the aesthetic, the visual we're going for. But yeah, it's hard. One of the things we struggled with when we were assessing AI success at Clipboard AI was the repeatability aspect.
Yeah.
So if people do copy this invoice to this system 100 times, how much of variability will be in there? Because it shouldn't be, because they want to do something that they can trust. acts the same way again and again. And so we were really testing for repeatability. We were testing, this was a metric in our system. Now I think they call it evals for product managers, is how you evaluate the system, the AI system. But for designers, we were just like testing. I had the Confluence page where I documented what the AI did every time. And it was like I was testing maybe 30 times, but it's like you can get 100 different things. So there also the learning is very difficult, right? But I think you can have an AI that tests 100 times, like you can use AI to test. Yeah. And there are tools like there's a recent tool I talked with, and they have a Figma plugin that runs through your prototype and acts like a real user in the sense that it talks out loud. So it says, oh, this page I think I'm supposed to do that, but this is not. So it simulates the user behavior, and it tests for two things. Task success, like can the user do whatever you instruct, because you give them the scenario, like in a real testing session, you say you have to check out, buy a dress. And so it tests if you can buy a dress, and it also looks at accessibility problems. And now they've added this feature where you can test 10 times, and probably you will be able to say test 200 times. And yeah, so you will be able to learn. Again, there's a huge ethical conversation to that. Like this is just the first layer of mapping small problems, obvious problems, and then nuanced, important, life-impacting changes. You have to test with people. Yeah. So, but it's interesting to the learning aspect, right? So we'll see how that evolves.
Going back to the user.
Yeah.
In front of your customer hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
This will not change.
Yeah,
This will not
exactly.
change. There's a product called Synthetic Users
Yeah.
getting a lot.
What do you think?
I'm friends with the owner, so with the founder, so I'm biased. But he gets a lot of hate. The first time I
Yeah.
talked to him, he gave me a list of words he got from people. Like he was cold in every possible
Oh my
offensive way by especially by researchers that are
Yeah.
most triggered by this concept of a synthetic user. However, it's the framing, like it's in the it's just a framing problem. He doesn't say that synthetic users can replace real users. He says that you can get a quick sense of something before you bring things in front of the users, right? So I don't know. It's a very difficult conversation. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think that applies to everything, right? I think also in a similar way, designers get a little itchy when we hear about like product people making design prototypes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I had a lot of conversations where I was like, I could get on board with that. Like someone was telling me using it to help with like estimation and scoping.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
this isn't good if we're not doing anything with this, but like
Yeah.
tell me what you think about this so you have a better idea, right? Because that's always a
Yeah.
tough conversation to have.
And what I want to add to that was that like my partner works as in product management, and he at some point, because he comes from a design background, he created this design prototype in Figma, no AI involved. So this is a very conventional tooling story. And so he creates this Figma prototype, and he's director of product, VP or whatnot. Said, oh my God, this is great. All product managers should do this. We should have a Figma training. And so he starts this, he rallies this initiative where he trains product managers to use Figma to create their own prototypes. So it was a systemic progress thing in this company to just not rely on designers to create. So, and there was no AI involved. So the point I'm trying to make is that this blurring of lines and this kind of tension has been around for a while.
Definitely.
Like, I still see this very old problem that hasn't been resolved of designers being called at the end of the process. Can you create a design? Yeah, this is what needs to happen. And we haven't figured that out. So AI is just, I don't know, another way to experience the same problem, but it's not a new problem.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it's another tool for us to have better conversations.
Yeah.
And we can't replace, like AI is not getting rid of that.
Yeah.
So it has been fabulous having you here. I've learned a ton. Thank you for coming on the pod, Christina.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, that was good.
We're done.
Are we sure we're done?
All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for today. In line with our goals of transparency and listening, we really want to hear from you. Sean and I are committed to reading every piece of feedback that we get, so please leave a comment or a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. Not only does it help us continue to improve, but it also helps the show climb up the rankings so that we can help other listeners move, touch, and inspire the world just like you're doing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next episode.